Welcome to our November edition of Demo Roundups. We are going to be talking about building resilient on-call operations for the holiday season. We know for folks who celebrate lots of their yearly holidays at this time of the year, it can be very, very busy and stressful to deal with all of that. How do you forecast coverage needs and design sort of fair on-call rotations? Because we're keeping in mind, like, yeah, folks want to spend time with their families. It's really easy to get burned out and stressed, and there's like regular work is still kind of going on. Like, how do we do that?
One of the core parts of PagerDuty, again, schedule management escalation policies, is a way to establish that for the teams so they can have backup, especially when folks are off. Maintaining primary and secondary schedules is something that we always recommend. We use that on our teams. So there is a backup when someone is, not available or so. We also do shadow rotations. That's an opportunity to pair people. Hey, I'm new this season. You're bringing a lot of new folks to help with and workflows, automation. There is a lot we can actually do. They work really well with the product. For one of the examples that we use on my team, service-based schedules. Somebody is deploying something to a service, they automatically go on call for that service. So when there is an issue, the right person is notified immediately.
I think another aspect of creating not only fair on-call schedules, but also being able to forecast it is like understanding the individual needs of your team members, especially from like a cultural perspective. We know that throughout the end of the year, there's so many different like cultural and significant like dates that exist between different cultures and stuff like that. So being sensitive to that and making sure that you're balancing the capabilities there to not only forecast who needs what accommodations on specific dates and making sure that you've aligned your schedule to make sure that we get maximum benefit to all the members, especially ones that can trade off certain days based on their observations or lack of observations, I think is super important.
So how do we go about testing like real failure modes?
Yeah, so we've talked for a number of years about how we do things at PagerDuty, whether it's what we call our failure Fridays or failure any days, where we intentionally either inject failure into our own systems to make sure we understand how our systems fail. Because the second, like, I guess the worst, it's bad that systems fail, right? But the second kind of thing that makes it even worse is when you don't quite understand how the system could possibly fail. You don't want to deal with that at 3 a.m. where you're having to not only respond to an incident, but discover new ways that things could be broken, right? So if you do things like Failure Fridays, if you do things like Failure Any Days, you get that deep sense of understanding about your system, how it fails, what are some of the signs and symptoms of a particular type of failure, so that when it eventually does happen in production, you're that much more ready to resolve that situation. You're that much more familiar with whatever playbook you need to reach for in order to handle that.
And now we're going to turn it over to Brian for some demo time.
Today, I'm going to go over some core incident management enhancements. Many of the items I'm going to cover were delivered as part of our customer love sprint. Hopefully, you've seen some of the messaging around that. First, I'm going to cover if you're working in an incident and wrong responders were added, you can now use the cancel renotify controls to stop incorrect notifications or re-engage team members as situations evolve. Next, you can clean up your incident documentation by editing notes to fix errors. So if I say, please need some additional documentation, and you add the note, previously this was fixed as a system of record here, but now you can edit this and fix notes. With the edit, it also kind of opens up additional use cases where before every note was kind of added, you can now use one note to collaborate with like, hey, here's the current action items. These are done. These are next steps, and maybe work directly in the incident a bit more. If an incident resurfaces after resolution, you can simply click reopen to restore it to active status. The next item I'm going to cover is around required or optional fields on resolution. So imagine kind of core documentation that you would like to capture when the incident is resolved. Maybe not every team is following best practices and capturing like action steps or the root cause. There's now a forms tab here, and you can add various custom fields here on a per incident basis.